Hey guys, this is Jason Coombs at Brickhouse Recovery TV, and today I want to talk to you about how to help an alcoholic son. Hey, so what I want to talk to you about today, first and foremost, is this is a growing problem. The ICD-10 codes, which are all the diagnostic codes that psychiatrists use to diagnose people with alcohol abuse, there are over 63 diagnoses for alcohol dependency, alcohol abuse. So this is a huge problem, and it just seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I want to help you combat this problem with your alcoholic son and share a little bit of my personal story along with it. You know, although alcohol wasn't the chemical that drove me down the fastest, it was one that was always subtly there behind the scenes, calling to me. And it was interesting because when the consequences were the greatest, alcohol was what I turned to. Because at times where I was clean off drugs because I needed a breather because my life got so chaotic, I turned to my best friend, and that was alcohol. I never got a DUI, I never experienced a ton of consequences from alcohol, but from the first time I drank, I was a blackout drinker, and so I definitely had a problem with alcohol. So as you're attempting to help your alcoholic son, the first point I want to talk to you about is you really need to establish what is okay and what is not okay with you. You got to be crystal clear on that and then communicate what isn't okay to your son, because if you're really trying to help, you're going to have to begin to establish boundaries and begin to establish an understanding of where you end and where your son begins. Most parents will slip into the control trap where they're trying to force and control to change the behaviors of their alcoholic son, and what they receive is just more resistance. And it spirals and spirals in a circular manner and drives everybody crazy. So I'm going to pull you out of the crazy train and help you to establish what is okay and what's not okay. So a good example of this scenario is when my parents discovered that I had alcoholism. For months, well, maybe even years at that point, I continued to show up at their house uninvited, and I'd make my way in. They had no locks on the door. I lived in the suburbs, and so it was a fairly safe neighborhood. And I would go into their house, and when they weren't looking or they were out of town, I would take what I wanted. I would use their computers. I even got to the point of stealing my dad's rare coin collection, some money that my grandfather had left my mom as an inheritance. And I just helped myself to everything that was theirs, and in my mind I thought, you know what, I'll just pay them back later, or they won't ever notice that this is gone. I was entitled to it. Well, the first thing that they did is they wrote it down that that was not okay for them. And there were other things that they weren't okay with either, but their very first boundary that they set up were to put locks on the house and change the garage code. That way their security system would alert them if anyone ever entered their home uninvited or if they weren't there. The second boundary that they set was that if I did come over, I had to be invited by them, they had to be home, and I was only allowed to wander in the common areas like the kitchen or the TV room or the bathroom. I wasn't allowed to go into bedrooms or into the guest room or anything like that. I had to stay in the common areas. So they set up those fences, and they said, this is okay with us, it's not okay for you to be here when we're not here. So I want you to think about your own situation. What's not okay with you and what is okay? And start to establish those fences for you, because you're going to need to start setting them up if you're going to help your alcoholic son. So the second point I want to make is you got to stop controlling their lives. I know, this is hard to do, especially when you have a son who's drinking his life away or using his life away. But it's vital that you stop controlling the situation, because that doesn't work. It only creates more resistance. It severs any trust, and if you don't have trust, then what you have is no influence in helping your addicted son. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is to not deny them of their pain. A lot of times parents control their kids or their son out of fear, and fear of the worst case scenario, like what if he doesn't get sober? What if he loses his job? What if he never gets a job? What if he becomes a bum and he's dependent on you the rest of his life? Well, those are all valid fears and valid concerns, but the challenge is when those fears exist, then parents tend to control and they don't get the results that they're looking for. So in order to reverse that and begin the influence, you need to allow his natural consequences to work in his favor. And what I mean by that is it's okay to let him feel the pain of his drinking and of his behaviors. So if he's drinking all the time and he doesn't get a job and he can't pay his bills, that means don't pay his bills. That means don't call his boss and cover for him. That means just let him experience the natural consequences. And you might ask, well, then it's just going to fall right back on me and it's going to cause me more problems. Well, we'll get to that in other topics, but what I do know is that if you control the situation and you rescue, then he's never going to get that beautiful gift of desperation, which is so important to drive internal motivation to want to get sober. And that's really how you help an alcoholic son, is you've got to help him want to get sober. A good example of this is when I was so deep into my alcoholism that I had nowhere to sleep and I had no money and I was homeless on the streets of Salt Lake City, Utah in the winter. And if you've ever been there, it is freezing, freezing cold with a lot of snow. And my parents had set up a boundary and they wouldn't allow me to sleep in their home. So my mother faced her fear of me being killed on the streets or not waking up or never coming back. And she allowed me to sleep on the streets because she knew that she could not deny me of my pain. And this was so fundamental in my whole journey of wanting to change. I had to feel discomfort. I had to feel that gift of desperation before I ever was willing to do the work that it takes to recover and to stay sober and be happy and healthy. So my parents, they didn't deny me the pain by letting me sleep on the streets homeless. So the last thing that I want to teach you and point out is you need to get on the offense. No longer can you influence your alcoholic son by hoping that he does the work. Getting on the offense means that you jump into your own recovery program. There are resources for you. There are books to read, there are meetings to attend, there are classes to take, there are videos to watch. There are so many resources that are available for you to get on the offense, and through that process, you're going to help your alcoholic son by not controlling the outcome. You're going to do a better job with allowing him to feel his pain, which will bring about the gift of desperation that he so desperately needs to change. And you're going to start to feel happier. So get on the offense and you will see the results. All right, you guys, so if you like this video, you're going to want to do 3 things. Number 1, go ahead and subscribe to Brickhouse Recovery TV. Number 2, like this video. And number 3, leave a comment behind. This channel is for the viewers. We put out premium content each and every week, so go ahead and leave a comment behind. Also, if you are new to Brickhouse Recovery TV, don't forget to pick up your free copy to my 7-day Road to Recovery challenge. So in just 7 days, this challenge is going to help you and your addicted loved one in leaps and bounds. It's going to drastically change how you feel inside and your level of happiness. So don't forget to go ahead and click the link below in the description to pick up your free copy today. My name is Jason Coombs with Brickhouse Recovery TV, and just remember, it's about progress, not perfection.